Hello students, how are you? I hope you all are fine at your home. Stay safe, stay at home, stay healthy. Today I am here to teach you fifth lesson from grade 8 chemistry, coal and petroleum. This is our first lecture, part 1, part 2, part 3 and so on will be later soon be uploaded. So coal and petroleum, this is most important thing in our life. Our whole life little bit based on the resources. Coal and petroleum are resources, are natural resources. We will study in this chapter what is coal and what is petroleum. So again, I want to make sure that pay attention to this lecture. This is very important. And what are the learning objectives of this chapter? First, we should know about the learning objectives. That means what are the topic that we will discuss on this chapter. These are six topics, six objectives. First, natural resources. In this topic, we will study about what are the natural resources and why we should use and why we use the resource. Firstly, we should think about the resources. So this is all about this lecture. We will study about the natural resources firstly, and the next topic will be the fossil fuels, and I'll try to cover these two topics in this lecture. Okay, what are the fossil fuels? Fossil fuels are the that kind of fuel in which some substances and buried in the earth crust and stay there for a very long time, and in this process and in the lap of time period, and in this time period, that particular substance like wood converts and converted into fuel, that is called fossil fuel. And the three types of fossil fuel in which we will study about the coal, petroleum and natural gases. These three are fossil fuel. Natural, considered in these three fuels are considered as natural resources, in which fossil fuels, in which coal, petroleum and natural gases, these all are the fossil fuels, and these three are very essential for our life, very much essential for our life. Okay, so and we will study about the conservation of fuels. Why we conserve the fuel? We conserve the fuel for our next generation, for our betterment, for our sustainable development, for our survival, to sustain on the earth for a very long time. So the conservation of fuels are very essential. To use the fuels wisely is called conservation of fuels. Why it is necessary and what are the key terms to conserve the fossil fuels, we will study later. So coming to the our first topic, that is called resources, in which we will study natural resource. Okay, so first we have to study what is resources. Anything which we used, anything which we use, and anything used by the human beings for their survival and betterment and welfare as well. So these two key points you have to keep in your mind, that what is survival and welfare. So I am writing Both of the point is survival, survival, sorry, survival and welfare. What is survival and what is welfare? Survival is to stay on the earth for a very long time. This is called survival. Okay, human beings try to survive on the earth for a very long time, so this is called survival. And in order to sustain on the earth, we should use the resources. Okay, and what are the resources? The sunlight, the coal, the petroleum, the air, soil, these all are the resources. The plastic, the cements, all are the resource. But what context we use is very important. Okay, so what is resources? Resources is anything which is used by human beings for their survival and welfare, is called is called resource. Okay, and coming to the next point is types of resources. What are the types of resources? You can say that, and you can also pause the video to write the definitions each of the following. I am saying very slowly to understand, to better understand. Okay, next point is what are the types of resources. First, we should know that the resources are two types. Okay, natural resources and man-made resources. Natural resources, the term itself selling more things, a lot of things, that the resources comes from nature, that nature gives us a lot of gifts, a lot of gifts. This mountain, the soil, the water, the sunlight, the coal, the petroleum, all are the natural gift that is given by the nature. These all are called natural resources that is given by the, what I'm saying, nature. That is called natural resources. The nature gives us a lot of things. What is the definition of this natural resources? Those resources which are obtained from nature is called natural resources. This is very simple definition, and I don't think that you are facing any problem in this lecture. So what are the example? Example is very simple, that is sunlight, sunlight, air, okay, soil, air, that is called wind also. So these are the natural resources. Am I made my point? Am I clear? Okay, thank you. Next point is man-made resources. This is the second type. I said earlier that two types of resources, in which natural resources it comes first, and the next is man-made resources. What is man-made resources? The resources made by human beings. Very simple. What is man-made resources? The resources made by human beings, but a very thin point that you should understand, that human being use the natural resources to develop the man-made resources. Very simple, that we use the natural resources. The chair, it comes from, and we create the chair from wood, and wood, where the wood come from? The wood come from the forest, and forest gives, who gives us forest? The wood, nature. So this is natural resources. Wood is a natural resources, but when we talk about the chair, this is man-made resource. So this is very simple. Those resources which are made by human beings, okay, that is called man-made resource. So what are the examples of man-made resources? We can say the cement, we can say the plastic. These are the man-made resources. Very simple. We use the natural resources and create and developed and make the man-made resources. So this I made my point very clear to that there are two types of resources, in which natural resources and man-made resources, and I gave both definition of natural resources and man-made resources. I hope you are understanding my point and getting my point very clearly. And what are the types of natural resources? This is our next point. So there are two types of natural resources. Two types of natural resources. As I wrote it earlier, that there are two types of natural resources, in which inexhaustible and second is exhaustible. Exhaustible and inexhaustible. Inexhaustible, also called renewable resources. Renewable resources. And exhaustible is called non-renewable. Non-renewable resources. Okay, I made my point very clear that what is inexhaustible. Exhaustible is also called renewable resources. Inexhaustible resources also called renewable. Okay, it means what is inexhaustible resources? Firstly, we should know about that. Inexhaustible, it means the resources present in our atmosphere, present in our environment, present in our nature, in our earth crust, in whole earth, ultimate, in the amount of ultimate, matlab it means the resources present in ultimate amount, the resources present in our nature in ultimate amount. And what is the definition of inexhaustible resource? Inexhaustible resource, those resources which are present in ultimate quantity. This point, make this point very clearly. Ultimate quantity, ultimate means very much, ultimate means very much quantity. Those resources which are present in ultimate quantity in the nature and cannot be exhausted, cannot be exhausted. We have a lot. We have sunlight a lot, we have soil a lot, we have water ultimately a lot, but some water we can't use, and some water we use. Okay, so what is inexhaustible resources? The resources, and these resources which are present in unlimited, not limited, I repeat, unlimited quantity in nature and cannot be exhausted. Exhausted by whom? Exhausted by human beings, because we use the resources. No any use, no any animal can use the resources. Only human being can use. Okay, so and cannot be exhausted by human activities are known as inexhaustible resources. I hope all things are very clear to you. That is sunlight present in our environment in very large amount, so it is called inexhaustible or renewable. That is, next is air, soil. These all are inexhaustible resources. I made my point very clear. I hope you all are understanding my point. And the next is exhaustible. That means those resources that present in our environment in a limited quantity, not unlimited, limited. We have very few amount, not very large, in very little amount. And one day the coal and petroleum will be over. Okay, and one day we have no any coal and petroleum to use, so we have to use carefully. I understand, and you also. And what is the definition of exhaustible resources? Exhaustible resources, those resources which are present in limited quantity, is called exhaustible resources, and exhaustible resources also called non-renewable resources. So what is the definition? I made my point very clear. Right, you can write also those resources which are present in limited quantity in nature and likely to get exhausted. Likely to get exhausted means one day it will be over. Okay, likely to get exhausted a certain period of time. It means coal and petroleum, one day these are two quantities, these substances over will be over in a certain time of period. These are these substances will be exhausted. So these are, I made my point very clear. I made my point very clear that these and dear students, this is all about this lecture. Part 2 will be back very soon. Thank you. Have a nice day.